I'll accept that amendment.
There's a motion on the floor, a second by Mr.
Buddy?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have public input, not to exceed 3 minutes per person. I have Mr. Lalo Sanchez speaking on the senior center needs. Mr. Sanchez?
Welcome, Mr. Sanchez.
Good evening, Council, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to more or less speak about the senior center. Our senior center, being that I'm a senior, I'm concerned of the needs that we have up there and what actually needs to be done and what will be done. Well, that's a different story, but that the center needs a lot of repairs. It needs a lot of work as far as that goes. It has their kitchen that's falling apart. I mean, all the equipment and whatnot, and old equipment that needs to be replaced or repaired or removed. Something has to be done. The electrical system, you can't plug, if you have two outlets with something plugged in, you can't plug in something else because the fuses blow out and whatnot. So the electrical system needs to be repaired, replaced, or something with it. The cameras, the video cameras also need to be also not only add some more, but there's one that doesn't work at all with, it's totally separate from the other systems as far as that goes, and they can't afford more or less to be paying monthly on that one camera, so it needs to be either added onto the other ones to be able so that they can all function at the same time. We also need more or less 2 or 3 different cameras to cover 3 different parts of the center itself. And there's a lot of safety issues that need to be taken care of as far as sidewalks that are unlevel and uneven, and it's kind of hazardous for seniors, especially people like myself that sometimes I see and sometimes I don't, so we have to be careful with those as far as that goes. But the center itself needs a lot of work, it needs a lot of repairs. And if we don't pay attention to them one of these days, don't forget that one of these days you all are going to become seniors like myself. So I don't know if you'll end up there or not, but it'll be, if we do take care of the problem now, we won't have to worry about it later as far as that goes. And I don't know if you all have the funding to be able to do it or not, but I would imagine that either the state or the federal would be able to help you all out as far as that goes. But there's so many things that's wrong with, I mean, the kitchen itself that has a lot of refrigerator. The refrigerator needs fixing, the grill needs fixing or replacing. So many things throughout the whole center itself. Like I say, electrical and a lot of equipment that needs to be fixed and replaced, and safety issues, cameras. We need cameras all over the place. There's sometimes that we do have thieves, and in order to be able to prove who the thief is or whatever it is, because we got to have the cameras in order to prove it, because I mean just a word from someone will say, well, that's not good enough or whatever. So we got to have it. And I would really appreciate it, and I know that the rest of the seniors would approve and appreciate also if things were fixed. We can only hope. I can only hope that things will come through as far as that goes. But it would be nice if the council itself would do a walk around as far as that goes, and check out the things that do need, so that you won't say, well, Mr. Sanchez was just opening his mouth or whatever it is over there, and that way you can see it for yourselves and approve them or don't approve them or whatever it is as far as that goes. But it would be nice to be able to get the council or whoever it is to be able to repair or replace all these items that do need attention as far as that goes. Another thing is that we need staff. The staff, we're very short on staff as far as that goes, and a lot of things can't be done or don't get done on account of the staff is so short that they're, how can I say, they're imposing on the ones that are there to do more than what they should be, and it's really a wonder that they're still working there and they're not quitting as far as that goes. So
Okay.
it would be nice if, all that stuff can be taken care of. as far
Thank
as
you,
that
Mr.
goes.
Sanchez.
It would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Next order of business?
Mr. Mayor, I only have one other public input, and it was from Rosemary Montoya with State Farm. She wanted me to relay that she is in support of repaving University Avenue. She's been waiting about 30 years for it. She says thank you.
Okay,
And that concludes public input.
thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have the mayor's appointments, reports, recognitions, proclamations. We have a proclamation for Recovery Month.
Sure do. I don't know where, there's supposed to be a couple of people from drug court here, but I guess they didn't make it. But the proclamation, whereas mental health and substance use disorders affect all communities nationwide. With commitment and support, those impacted can embark on a journey of improved health and overall wellness. The focus of Recovery Month each September is to celebrate all people to make the journey of recovery possible by embracing the tagline, recovery is for everyone, every person, every family, every community. And whereas Recovery Month spreads the message that people can and do recover every day, the impact of mental health and substance use disorders is apparent in our local community, and an estimated 31.9% and 38.5% respectively of people in New Mexico are affected by these conditions. And whereas through Recovery Month, people become more aware and able to recognize the signs of mental health and substance use disorders, and encourages people in need of recovery services to seek help. Managing the effects of these conditions helps individuals achieve healthy lifestyles, both physically and emotionally. And whereas the Recovery Month observance continues to work to improve the lives of those affected by mental health and substance abuse disorders by raising awareness and educating the community about the effective services that are available. And now therefore, I, Louis Trujillo, Mayor of the City of Las Vegas, along with the members of our governing body, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2022 as Recovery Month in the City of Las Vegas, and call upon our community to observe this month with compelling programs and events that support this year's observance. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, do you have a report?
I do, somewhat of a report. I just want to thank everybody who's working so hard, in our utilities department and the streets department. There's so much happening. There's a lot of street improvements going on, and I just want to personally thank the people who are working, with our utilities and all the employees that are working so hard and who worked through the holiday weekend to make happen the pre-treatment facility at Story Lake. And thank you to Maria and your group for doing all the hard work, and thank you to our engineers who are assisting with this project. I also want to thank the Public Works Division for all the different projects. If you drive around town, you know that there's a lot of street improvements that are going on. Thank you to them. They're all working very hard, and I appreciate everything. I'd also like to say that it's New Mexico Highlands University Homecoming Week, and Go Cowboys. That is my alma mater, and very proud. And I'll see everybody at the parade and at the football game Saturday. I'd also like to keep in mind that we lost a beautiful soul this last week. Michael Ann Perea, or Cavazos Perea, super young, energetic, vibrant person, gave her heart to everything, was on a charity bike ride when she was hit by a car and was killed instantly. Her husband was behind her and witnessed the tragedy. And the family's from Las Vegas, and I just feel like Michael Ann was just one of those shining stars that was rising very fast. And it's a big loss to our community. And so my condolences go to Chris and Isabel Cavazos and their family, and everyone that was associated with this young lady. Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, next we have our councilors' reports.
Council? Ms. Casey?
Okay. I want to echo some of the comments that Mr. Sanchez made during public comment. I'm very happy to see that in our agenda today we have the Senior Center ICIP, the Capital Improvements Plan, and I would like very much for the section that says Senior Center improvements. That's a real general topic. So if you could squeeze in the heating and the air conditioning system also. I go there for Tai Chi, and in the summer, you're just dying from the heat. You're suffocating. And it was extremely difficult when I still wear my mask there, and to exercise in the heat, we were all like gasping for air. And then in the winter, we were all freezing, and we were happy that we had our masks to cover our faces. So if you could add that to the list, I would appreciate. I also want to thank Steven Aragon and the Parks and Recreation folks, because the sprinklers, some of the sprinklers that are turned on at night, sprinkle the street and not the grass. And so they've gone out and they have readjusted the sprinklers so that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I received a lot of comments about the water distribution. Some people are concerned with the odor that's coming from the plastic, and others are just grateful that they're getting water. And so I would say it's like 50-50, you know, but people are very thankful for that. The street improvements are awesome. And the City of Las Vegas Utility Department updates are very much appreciated. And I'm glad that Maria makes them shareable. I share them to my Facebook page when I catch them that same day that they come out. And they're not old news. I'll put them out there. The PSAs on street repair and trash pickup is also very much appreciated. And a lot of people don't have computers, so the people that I know that live in my ward that don't have computers, I call them up and tell them, you know, your trash is going to be picked up late, or it's not going to be picked up today, or they're working on your street, or whatever. And so I appreciate all of that help us do our job, and the people really appreciate those PSAs and getting information on the different things that are happening. So thank you, everybody. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Council? Mr. Romero?
I just kind of want to again thank all our city staff and, you know, all the different departments that have been helping through everything, you know, from the water distribution and everything that they've been doing. I know sometimes it might be difficult under the circumstances, and, you know, based off of, you know, they take Wednesdays off now. I mean, not off, but working Wednesdays with the distribution. So that one day alone kind of throws everybody off a little bit, but they're within the remaining 4 days, they're still getting things done, and that has to, you know, be greatly appreciated. I know, you know, just seeing them there and the customers, I mean, the constituents kind of thanking them for what they're doing. I think that's, you have to be there to see it, and it's great. And I just had one question to Chief. If you could kind of, real quick, briefly, I know there's been some questions as far as the speed trailers. I know the cameras aren't in, but if you could kind of give an update on that, or?
We actually received the cameras yesterday afternoon.
Oh, okay. Never know.
They gave us instruction packets on how to put them together, and we will have a virtual training on them next week from one of their camera specialists.
Okay. I was heard that there might be another delay, so everything's
Yeah,
good.
no, we just got in this afternoon, or, sorry, yesterday afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speeders beware.
Yes.
Anyone else? Next order of business.
We have the city manager's report. We have Mr. Neil Maestas.
Welcome, Mr. Maestas.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Bear with us for just a second. All right. Good evening. As I usually start with my manager's report, welcoming our new employees to the City of Las Vegas. We have quite a bit of new employees for the last month, which is Ms. Samantha Martinez, Customer Service, Ms. Shannon Garcia, Court Clerk, Amberly Gonzalez, Recreation Specialist, Antonio Hernandez, Animal Control, Adrian Aleman, Project Coordinator, Tracy Knox, Field Customer Service, Nicholas Salazar, Police Officer, and Sequoia Romero in Computer Technician with our IT department. I want to reiterate to Mayor, Council, and to the public, obviously there's a lot of information on this. It wasn't designed to read. You have those there in your packet of information, so you can read that on your own. But I just want to reiterate to the community that yes, the water is very important to us, and every project that we've been doing with the water and the water crisis is very important to not only the council, mayor, and the community, but the city is working on a slew of projects, from gas department to senior center to street improvements. I don't remember a time in my lifetime, you know, I'm only in my 40s, but that we had so many road construction projects going at the same time. And I'll briefly get into that later, but I want the community to know that we are not sitting on just the water projects. We are making movements in every category in the city. Along with answering some questions that the community had with the senior center, and as well as Ms. Casey. Ms. Wanda Salazar has over $1.5 million that she's working on right now on parking lot improvements, the HVAC system, the electrical in the kitchen, plumbing improvements, and we have contractors right now giving us quotes on those. We already have those awards. That's why that is not on the ICIP.
Good to hear.
Moving on, again, we have a lot of road improvements that are going on right now. The top two pictures are a street on Bernalillo Street. I couldn't tell you when that street's ever been paved or when the last time it has been paved. It's right next to one of the schools. The bottom left, I'm sorry, is North Gonzales. We finished our water line project there, so now we went ahead and paved not only the area that was excavated, but we also put some money to pave both directions, both lanes of travel. We've done a slew of other projects, from Peggy Lee Lane to some projects here off of Alamo Street. Again, this is Bernalillo. We're nearing the last stages of the Great Blocks project in the Railroad District. We did get awarded roughly $3.5 million to do the road improvements in the historic University area, which will start on Grand Avenue to 8th Street, make one block going north to the National project that was done by the university. So We're also making a lot of progress. We had a public meeting on the Legion project. DOT monies were awarded to the city. We had a public input meeting at the fire station there on Legion about a month ago, and we're getting close to 100% drawings on that project as well, so we can go out for bid. That probably won't hit till the spring because we're getting into the season where we can't be paving anyway. So, moving on to the topic at hand, which is our water distribution and our water crisis that the city is going through right now. We, at our water distribution, along with the collaborative efforts of FEMA and a lot of other federal agencies, we have given out to over 13,000 households in 5 weeks every Wednesday for the last 5 weeks. We're going to continue that for another 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, I believe is what our request is in for. Again, the community needs to know that it takes a lot of manpower, a lot of logistics to do these sites for that amount of people in a short period of time. I want to thank all the departments that come out there. It's not the easiest thing to be out there in the sun, you know, loading vehicles, interacting with the public, keeping a professional image to the public as well while we interact with them. Again, just a brief overview of our storage right now in Bradner and the lake. We have just over 54 million gallons. 54 million gallons in Bradner. We have over 190 million gallons in Story Lake, which equates to 34 days in Bradner and just over 119 days in Story Lake is where we sit right now. I wanted to just briefly show you that we currently, during calm times, and we had some calm times for the last few weeks where we were pulling water off the river along with pre-treating water from Story Lake so we could further our capacity or further our storage in Bradner Dam. Obviously, this weekend we had a huge spike there, you can see, and it did bring down a lot of debris in this last Saturday's event. But again, the river goes back to, we're sitting right at about 35 CFS right now. So once we get some more calm waters where the tributary level is in a range that we can treat, we'll start pulling it back off the river and putting it back into Bradner. I also wanted to bring to your attention a few other things, or another topic was the city leases equipment for its public works department for a 5-year, 7-year time period. 7 years ago, the city leased a piece of equipment, which is a grader. We had the option to purchase the grader. The city doesn't have a lot of areas where they use the grader, like the county. In the 7-year period, or the 5-year period, the city only put 1,500 hours on that grader. In comparison, the county puts 1,800 hours in 1 year because they have a lot of county roads that need grading. So we chose to purchase the grader. If we were to enter into a new lease agreement, the lease agreement would have costed the city just over $200,000 for a 5-year period, and then they would have given us an option of buying the grader at the end of that for another $160,000. We had a perfectly good piece of equipment, so we chose to buy it so we won't have to be leasing that piece of equipment for the next 7 years. So.
How much did that cost?
$154,000. So with that, I stand for any questions, Mayor and Council.
Mr.
Mr. Maestas, first of all, I want to thank the New Mexico DOT as always, and your staff for applying for the funding for the university. That's something that we want to get done since a while back. $3 million to Las Vegas is great for that area, and hopefully you'll show more interest for new businesses to come into that area. The other thing is I want to thank Wanda for our director at the Senior Citizens, because it's been hard for this pandemic, and it's been hard for the city in general in obtaining people to come and work for us. I saw in our HR department that we had 13 or 15 new hires, or you showed us there. That's great. Those are good signs that we're moving forward, and people are wanting to come back to work and thinking about careers. But I want to thank her especially for the senior citizen bus tours that you join in with Ms. Juarez and the Watershed Alliance. I think that was very, I saw them down the Gainas River back and forth all day long, and I think they enjoyed that. I think they really enjoyed that. This outdoors, and they did some activity at the same time, and saw part of their city and what we're trying to do, building that up. I would ask Mr. Maestas that you would, I got 6 reports from 6 different departments. I would ask that you include other departments in that reports, monthly reports, and that would be a separate report for solid waste, separate report for airport and other departments, so that we can be updated as to what's going on in those departments and how we can help out, or where funding needs to go towards, and their employee status and so forth. And other than that, I want to thank you personally for doing such a good job. I think this city is moving forward in the right direction. I think we've been attacked in the last 2 years with a lot of tasks, a lot of challenges, and I think that we've handled them as best as we can. I know there's always room for improvement, but I think that we're in the right track, and we're doing a lot of streets, a lot of water leaks are coming out, and we're repairing those before we repair the streets. Sidewalk projects have been done. We're still working on our parks, and it's a never ending, but we are moving forward daily. I know we have issues. I get concerns about semi-trucks on Legion Drive. There's signage, we order signage, we passed the ordinance. We need to find a way to enforce that. If not, at least notifications. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I thank you, Mr. Maestas, for all your hard work, and your staff, and all the employees that have stuck with us throughout these couple of years. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya.
Mr. Mayor.
Appreciate it. Mr. Ulibarri?
I want to thank Councilman Montoya for the words he said, but I'll say one thing. There's been a lot of road projects on Ward 1. And I'll tell you one thing, that our residents and everybody around that's been looking at all the work we've been doing. I'm not going to lie to you, it's been years that we haven't done too much work on it. I want to thank you and the staff and everybody that's involved. And I'll tell you one thing, they're happy about it, because we improved streets that have been really, really bad. Bernalillo, look at our National Avenue and King Street, Romero, Salazar. Those streets have been dirt streets for back when I was a kid. I want to thank everybody that's involved with what they're doing, and you, Mr. Maestas, thank you for all the good work you're doing for us.
Thank you, Mr. Ulibarri.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero?
I'll just tag on to everybody else here. Leo, thank you. And not only that, your directors, and as you say, you can't do it alone. And thank you, with your guidance and working with them. I think we could sit here and maybe say 3-4 months ago, everybody thought the sky was going to fall, and animal control, every department was going to, fall apart. But you know what? Here we are, we're standing. They had an event there. Nothing but positive news out of that. So I just got to say, our community, none of us are out here to put anybody down or to do anything negative. Our main focus is we're focused on what needs to be done, and that's what we're doing. And it might be some hard decisions that we're making, but we're making them. And kudos to my colleagues here and there, and city manager. We couldn't do it. We couldn't do it by ourselves. None of us could do it individually. And working together, we're doing it, and looking forward to the continued success. Even though we're going to have our individuals that might criticize, and for one that criticizes, there's 100 that are thanking us, and I think that's some.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Thank you, Cassandra.
Mr.
Thank
Mayor?
you, Mr. Maestas. Appreciate your work.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Next order of business is approval of minutes for August 10th, 17th, and 23rd, 2022.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the minutes for August 10th, August 17th, and August 23rd, and I did send in a few minor corrections.
There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Casey. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next is our presentations, not to exceed 10 to 15 minutes per person. We have a presentation by United World College President Victoria J. Mora.
Welcome, Dr. Mora. It's a pleasure to have you here, and it's a pleasure to have the United World College in our community.
Thank you.
It's exciting, and I always look forward to seeing the kiddos back and all the wonderful things that the United World College is doing, and we're just delighted that you're part of our community.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. It's so good to be here, Mr. Mayor, Council, city officials. It's just great to be here. Here for two reasons. First reason is to, in the spirit of gratitude I've heard here, is to say thank you. You know, as I listen to the business of the city, and I don't make these meetings in person, but I do watch what comes out on video. And as I listen, I think, wow, we are really in the same soup. We are in the same menudo, because we are. I hear about the infrastructure. We're dealing with that up at the United World College. I hear about the challenge with, bringing employees in, retaining them. We're having the same challenges at the United World College. And so when I hear all of that, and I think about what incredible partnership we've had from the city, particularly, Mayor, since you began here.
Thank you.
It has been amazing. We could not have gotten through COVID without the help of the city. And I'll just say, we're one of 18 campuses worldwide. We were the first ones to have vaccinations. And that includes socialist countries with good health care for all. We were the first. And I had to laugh at a certain point, because as I'm, running a victory lap among my colleagues, because we're already, 90% vaccinated at the time of that meeting, I'm hearing that another one of my colleagues is being pulled in front of the magistrate in Tanzania because she's insisting her students wear masks, and the president of that country had declared there was no such thing as COVID, and anybody who insisted on masks was violating the law.
Wow.
And needed to cease and desist. And I thought, oh my God, it is not one world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So even as we think about the challenges our community has, we really stepped up during COVID, and we couldn't have done it without you, and we couldn't have brought all of those students here. And we didn't skip a beat. We brought them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Second thing I want to say thank you about is the water situation. We are one of your biggest users of water. And the United World College's mission is to make education a force for peace and a sustainable future. And I'm going to own right here, we have not always acted as sustainably as we need to. And this is something we're putting front and center in our strategy going forward. And the first thing we're addressing is water. Now, you all probably know we have a funny relationship with a number of residences, and Barbara was asking about that before, a number of residences who take their water from us. That means that we don't have the handle we need on where the water is going, how much is being used, where the leaks are. And I can tell you, my board meets in the first week of October, and the very first thing we're doing is a field trip out to the reservoir and a presentation on the water situation. I will be asking for special expenditure to be able to address the water situation on the campus, to make sure we're the best vecinos we can be with respect to water. And I thank you for all of the work done to make sure that we didn't have to send all our kids home, because that was the conversation we were having at the United World College. Second reason I'm here, besides saying thank you, is for a little lightheartedness. Everybody has been through so much. This body has been working so hard. Back in April, we were able to bring, for those of you who are old school like I am, Vlade Divac, former center of the Los Angeles Lakers, to campus.
Yeah.
And he didn't come to talk about his fame. He didn't come to talk about his money. He didn't come to talk about the NBA. He came to talk to our students about what it means to leave home and take the hopes and dreams and values of your parents and your community, and to use those to raise other people up. And it was a beautiful talk. We had to postpone it. We had the plan to have him also speak at the recreation center. We didn't get to do that. But the mayor nonetheless came, as well as others, to support his presence. And so Lottie signed a basketball for Alcalde Trujillo.
Nice.
And so I wanted to give that to you. And I also wanted to give you a picture that we took at the time.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, for us, the mayor is a big man around town. And for our students, I'm the big lady around town. And this is the mayor and me. Standing with the big man. And I had to laugh at this photograph. I was like, wow, the mayor and Lottie Divatz are like strangely tall. I'm like, is that really the height of those people? Because I never feel like I'm 5 feet tall, but it turns out I am. So I just wanted to say thank you. I want to assure you that as COVID is subsiding, we're planning to be back in town for all of the community service that our students do. We're going to be focusing primarily on education and then the New Mexico Behavioral Health Institute next semester again. We'll be in town on Tuesday mornings and on Saturdays, and so hopefully you'll see that and feel that energy in town. And we're here to be a part of the community. We're grateful for everything the community gives us. And Mayor, you started out by saying, you know, how glad you are that we're part of the Las Vegas community. We're really proud to be part of that community and be, you know, the one place in the United States where there's a United World College. So
Thank you. Thank you, Victoria.
I'll leave
Muchas
this here.
gracias. Bueno. And you're always welcome, and your students are always welcome in town and to this meeting. And
Thank you.
just call me if you need anything, and we'll be there for you.
Thank you. And we have a new Associate Head of Finance and Operations coming in now at the beginning of October. And she knows part of her portfolio will be to come to these meetings, especially on matters that interface between the school and the city. For example, water, that would be Exhibit A, but things like roads and other things that, you know, we need to both listen and have a voice, and that will be part of her portfolio going forward.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mora.
Thank you.
Next order of business.
Mr. Mayor, we have executive session.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to go into executive session, and that would be to discuss purchasing, acquisitions, or disposal of real property, water rights, NMSA 1978 10-15-1 H8, meeting for the discussion of purchasing, acquisitions, or disposal of real property or water rights by the public body. Thank you.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya. I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Olivari?
Yes.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, a second by Councilor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. We are now in executive
¿Qué está haciendo?
Carry on, go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
Okay. I'd like to go back into regular session, and only those items discussed were under pending or threatening litigation on New Mexico NMSA 1978 10-15-1 H8. Meeting for the discussion of purpose, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights by the public body. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya. I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Councilor Romero?
Yes, and I'd like to note for the record that only those matters specified in the motion for closure were discussed, no action was taken. Yes.
Councilor Olivari?
Yes.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, a second by Councilor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next order of business.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to business items. The first is to conduct a public hearing for business items 1 and 2. The first one is request approval to adopt ordinance number 22-09. This is an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Las Vegas by repealing and replacing Chapter 285 outdoor lighting, creating 2 new subsections to Chapter 12 traffic regulations, specifically 12.6.6.1, stopping, standing, or parking prohibited in specified places, subsections D and E, and also repealing and replacing Chapter 148 vacant buildings, Section 148-511 entitled fees, and 2 and 148.6B entitled civil penalties. And the second ordinance is request approval to adopt ordinance number 22-10, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Las Vegas by adding a new article 7 to the existing Chapter 18 entitled Police Advisory Commission.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to go into a public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we go into public hearing for business items 1 and 2.
There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Casey. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Olivari. Roll call, please.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Olivari?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Mr. Aaron?
If there's anybody in the audience that'll be speaking on either items number 1 on ordinance 2209 or ordinance number 2210, if you can stand and please be sworn in. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name for the record. swear to tell the truth during my testimony to council this evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Aaron?
Okay, this already came before council prior, both 1 and 2, and they've been published, is that correct?
That is correct.
And we're just here tonight for adoption of these 2 items. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, we have somebody in the audience, Ms. Jeannie, that would like to speak on the first item.
Sure. You're welcome to come up. Welcome, Jeannie.
Mayor Trujillo and council members. I just wanted to come up and just thank you, ask for your support in passing this ordinance, only because our city is beautiful, we are historic, and parking RVs in any city park makes it look like people are camping out, and it's really unsafe too. And so we really appreciate that if we could pass this ordinance, it would really make sure that our city stays historic, and also it kind of helps with the clutter and the congestion, and also the safety of students, of people that are crossing the park, because these huge RVs make it really difficult to cross the street because they get into oncoming traffic. And if our neighborhoods are tight as it is, and the houses are pretty close to each other, and if we keep adding more residences in the area, we don't know who our neighbors are anymore. And so anybody I've seen, not only in our neighborhood, but other areas within the neighborhood, people do connect to their houses, and people do stay in them, even though they're not connecting to the sewer. So it just adds to a concern. And so I just really appreciate the hard work that everyone did on the council, and especially everybody and our attorneys and you guys. So I'd really like the support to pass the ordinance.
Thank you, Ms. Rubin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Not on this particular one, but on the part about the vacant buildings, I still have heartburn with that one. Mr. Aaron, number 2, look at that.
Chapter 148, section
Yeah,
148.
yeah. It says property zoned as anything other than commercial, business, or industrial. A non-refundable fee of $100 shall be charged for processing each application for a vacant building maintenance license. So if somebody puts their house up for sale and they leave town, that house is vacant, is that going to fall under this particular ordinance?
Now, I'd have to pull up the entire ordinance and see what the extent of I'd have to read through the entire ordinance to see what the length of time is when a house is going to be vacant, and whether or not a house that was for sale would fit under that or not. My understanding is that the houses that are for sale still have things on like utilities and whatnot, and those are some of the issues that fall into this, but I'd have to read. I could answer your question, I just don't know if I could do it right here, unless you want to allow me the time to read the whole ordinance.
Well, I'm concerned because a lot of homes that are for sale do not have their utilities on. Those are turned off, and so technically it's a vacant building, and they would fall under this particular section of the ordinance.
Yeah, they have
And I don't think that's fair, one, because it's penalizing the property owner. I don't think it's fair at all in the first place, but, and I understand the reasoning behind it is to, keep vacant buildings not eligible for use as a drug house or, where other people are staying there or whatever. But on the other hand, you're charging $100 just to process an application, and then they have to pay $500 by the property owners have to pay $500 for the license. That's the fee for the license. And then on the second year, they have to pay $700 for the license, and then after that, it's $1,000. I don't think it's right to charge people for owning property. I think it's a terrible way to go, and I don't like that this particular piece of the whole chapter is included, because the other parts on the lighting, and as Mrs. Ravine mentioned, the one about the parking, RVs and all of that, those pieces are good, and we need to do those. But when you combine them with this piece that is unfair to property owners, then I have a real problem with it. And I cannot support, it's a shame that I cannot support the other two parts because it's attached to this one. And I'm not a happy camper about that one bit. And I don't think that maybe some people didn't read the proposed language when it was published. A lot of people don't have the time to read the legal portions of the newspaper, and then it just comes out once a week. That's another issue. A lot of people don't have internet, they don't have a computer, they don't have any way to see this, and this is what is going to happen. By voting for this, we are punishing property owners if their property becomes vacant. And I just think that's a real travesty for people. We want people to move to our community, we want people to buy property, we want them to stay here. Things happen and people have to leave, and their property stays vacant, and they're going to be penalized even if their property is up for sale. And so I think that is very wrong, and because of that, I cannot support this particular ordinance. I wish I could, because it has other parts that are excellent and are needed. This one is not needed, and it's not good for the people of Las Vegas. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Do you want to go on to the second one?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a comment from someone for the second ordinance, if I may read that into the record.
Sure.
This is regarding the ordinance 2210, which is the Police Advisory Commission, and this is from Mr. Lee Einer. He emailed this to me. Dear Mayor and Council, Section 6.05B of the Las Vegas City Charter states, the governing body shall establish by ordinance the power and duties of the Commission, which shall act in an advisory capacity to the governing body regarding police policies and procedures, complaints regarding police activity that have been received by the city, and such other matters as the governing body may determine. Note that the word shall denotes a mandatory duty. The charter establishes for the Police Advisory Commission two specific mandatory duties: advising the governing body regarding police policies and procedures, and advising the governing body regarding complaints regarding police activity that have been received by the city. These are in addition to such other matters as the governing body may assign. The Police Advisory Commission ordinance being considered this evening violates these provisions of the city charter by eliminating the Commission's mandatory duties to advise the governing body regarding PD policies and procedures and complaints against the PD. The proposed ordinance violates our city's charter. That's why I am saying, and I don't believe that knowingly enacting an ordinance that violates the city's charter would be consistent with a New Mexico public official's oath of office. I wish these were an isolated problem. To the contrary, it is part of a pattern consistent with the other city legal issues over the past couple of years. The fifth at-large council seat error is only one example. Several ordinances were enacted that imposed fines in the excess of the $500 limit imposed by NMSA 317.1 and 318.1. The city's cannabis ordinance conflicts with New Mexico's medical cannabis statute in a number of particulars. We nearly had an ordinance requiring headlights, taillights, and brakes on skateboards, roller skates, and unicycles, and the revised public nuisance ordinance listed calites and verdolagas as noxious plants. I ask that you vote no on the Police Advisory Commission ordinance tonight, and I am suggesting that the city has a larger issue to address as well. Thank you for your time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Those columns have been read into the record. Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero?
Mr. Aaron, wouldn't, and maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but city and general activities regarding crime and enforcement of law kind of include a generalization of what Mr. Reiner was asking for?
Say again, I didn't follow.
It's a mission and purpose of the ordinance 2210.
Mm-hmm.
It says, and general activities regarding crime and the enforcement of law. Wouldn't that be vague enough to where that?
Well, so,
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Can we get back to item number 1 before we move on to item number 2? We're in a public hearing. And
Sure.
we need to close that public hearing and go to item 1 and vote on it.
Well, both public.
Both of those
Was both?
items were in public hearing.
Public input hearing was for both items. That was made in the motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. My apologies. Thank you.
yeah, so generally what I would say is that instead of excluding the charter-specific duties of the Police Advisory Commission, this ordinance, as it's written, doesn't exclude them at all. Actually, it includes them, because under duties, Section A there, it reads, "The commission shall review information as specifically and expressly directed by the governing body." So the reason that subsection A exists there is to govern how these duties are played out. So the way it's written, this particular Police Advisory Commission will have to come to the council, and the council will have to determine how exactly it wants this review of police policies and procedures and the review of complaints regarding police activity and these other things that are listed in the charter. It doesn't eliminate those. It just makes it at the council's discretion. So the council has to give direction to this commission regarding how the council wants that to play out. And the reason it's set up that way is so you don't have a commission that decides, well, we have power, and they run out and they want to start doing things on their own. So all this does is it keeps this commission in line with however the council directs. So let me give you an example. Instead of examining a complaint, as soon as a complaint happens against a police officer, the council can say, actually, we want you to hold off on that for a second. We're going to let the internal investigation play out. We're going to let the outside entity like the state police come in and do their investigation. We're going to let the professionals have a whack at it. And then Police Advisory Commission, we're going to let you guys get to the information after it's kind of played out the process. Or you might want to turn it around. We've decided we want the Police Advisory Commission to review it first. Or instead of doing it on a per occurrence basis, you might say to the commission, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to turn over all those complaints to you at the end of the quarter, and then we want you to review them all together, maybe once a quarter, or once every 6 months, or once a year,
So
or once.
basically the ordinance is generalized to it.
It's very general.
Include that and it keeps us in compliance with.
It is in compliance. It's not contrary to it, but it allows the governing body to dictate what this process is going to be instead of allowing the commission to dictate what the process is going to be.
Okay. Question, Mr. Mayor.
Mr.
Yeah,
Montoya?
Mr. Aaron.
Yes.
I had a question. On the city charter, I know at one time it read that all committees were recommendation committees, and all boards and commissions, I guess commissions had policy-making authority. And I couldn't find anything on the current charter that says that. So really their recommendation also.
So it says specifically in here, which shall act in an advisory capacity to the governing body.
Okay.
They don't have any power or any duties beyond that
No policy.
unless you decide to give it to them.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. That's the only question I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to exit, do we exit
No.
public hearing?
There's a motion to go into regular session, second by Mr. Montoya. Roll call, please.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. So going back to number one,
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion, Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Montoya.
to request approval to adopt ordinance number 22-09 to amend the code of City of Las Vegas by repealing and replacing chapter 285, outdoor lighting, creating 2 new subsections to chapter 12, traffic regulations, and I won't read the rest, but I would like to add into my motion to do away with chapter 148, the building vacant, till it's revised, and it can be brought up at another time.
Second.
Is that okay with you, Mr.
You
Attorney?
can, if they want to amend how it's written, that's, although it may trigger a publishing
publishing.
issue, notice
Yeah.
issue.
Because you're removing a whole section.
So it'd be another.
That was not my call, it's your call, but I'm just saying it may trigger a republishing,
If it's substantive enough, which it's removing the whole,
removing 2 sections.
So we can't vote on any part of it.
So it'd be just a sentence or something like that, but not the whole section.
we would have to republish it.
Okay.
So we can't
So-
vote on anything tonight.
You can
So-
vote to if you wanted
To
to
table it or-
republish it.
So I will go ahead and make rescind my motion, Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
and I will make a different motion
Go ahead.
to go ahead and approve request for the adoption of ordinance number 2209.
To accept it, no, to accept it as it is.
And then separate.
So there's a motion on the floor to accept or adopt
As is.
ordinance number 2209, second.
Second is one.
Second by Mr. Olivari. Roll call.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
No.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Number 2, I'll entertain a motion for adoption of 2210, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Las Vegas by adding Article, what is that? 7 to the existing Charter 18 entitled Police Advisory Committee.
Mr. Mayor, is this your recommendation? Because all committees have to be recommended by the mayor.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And I'll just say a comment before I make a motion. You know, for the last 2 years, people have been requesting that we have this committee appointed live and well. They have met several times, and now they wanted more direction, and we're giving them more direction. And I think this is a good thing for the public itself, and I would like to go ahead and make a recommendation to adopt.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor to adopt 2210. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Next order of business.
Moving on to item 3, request approval to award Electric Horseman Incorporated the airfield lighting and signage rehabilitation project for the City of Las Vegas Municipal Airport. We have Mr. Danny Gouroulet.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the award to Electric Horseman.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero,
Second.
second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivetti?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
I apologize, I forgot to welcome Danny.
Mr. Mayor.
Welcome, Danny.
Yeah, I would like to, Danny, just briefly say the amount and the project. And so it's citizens know what we're
So
passing.
this is
more
to
than $250 million.
request for electric horsemen, for lighting and signage rehabilitation project for the city of Las Vegas. Bixby came in at $385,219.50. The electric horseman came in at $253,806.69. This is to replace the lighting throughout the runways, the signage, and they're gonna upgrade to LEDs and stuff, and some electrical work that's incorporated in that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. What's the pleasure of the council?
We're moving on to item number 4.
I'm sorry, you already wrote it. Sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 22-44.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero, second, please.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to item 5, request approval of resolution number 2245 to apply for a match waiver in the amount of $133,688.60, which is 5% of the total project cost of $2,673,772.10. Mr. Goodlett?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to request resolution 22-45.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Montoya. Roll call, please.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Olivetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Gutierrez.
Mayor.
I appreciate you being here.
Mr. Mayor, can we have Daniel just give a description of the project so that people
So
know?
this project is going to be the reconstruction of University Avenue. It'll be starting from Grand Avenue to A Street, and then we're going to do a section from A Street off of University to National. It'll be a full reconstruction, which will include paving, the drainage, signage, lighting. So that should be, thank you guys, thank you for the DOT too.
Thank you for your work on this, Mr. Gutierrez.
And this is a $2.6 million project, and the city's portion is $133,000.
We're applying for the waiver.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez.
Moving on to item number 6, request approval of resolution 2242, assigning official representatives and signatory authority for the SAP 226G2392 STB grant agreement with the New Mexico Environment Department.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 22-42.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero, a second by Mr. Montoya. Roll call, please.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
And excuse my manners, I forgot to welcome Maria. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, if I might, the resolution was correct. It does show that the mayor is a signatory for the grant agreement, but I believe the signature card that was provided was incorrect, so we just need to make sure that that's corrected to match the resolution.
It's been corrected.
Thank you. Next order of business,
Item
please.
7 is request approval of Resolution 2243, instructing staff to submit an application for funding through the State Board of Finance for emergency assistance. Ms. Gilbert?
Mayor, Council, this is a request from the staff to be able to submit this application, and this would be requesting financial assistance for $300,000 for the preliminary engineering report for a indirect potable reuse system for the city.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve 22-43.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero, second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Olivetti?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Maria, for being here.
Moving on to item number 8, request approval of Resolution 22-46, adopting an infrastructure capital improvement plan for the City of Las Vegas Senior Center. We have Ms. Wanda Salazar, our Community Services Director.
Welcome, Wanda. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of Resolution 22-46 for the ICIP Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan for the Senior Center in Las Vegas.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Casey, second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Wanda. Appreciate you being here.
Appreciate it.
Sorry for keeping.
Thank you, Wanda.
Moving on to item number 9, discussion and approval to accept the Netherland donation. We have our city manager, Leo Maestas.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's been brought to my attention that I'd like to bring to your attention the topic of the donation of the property of the Netherland family property on Lee Drive for discussion and direction.
Mr. Mayor, the Netherlands contacted us in May, and we still haven't taken any action on this. They're making a very generous offer of land and $25,000 seed money and an additional planning, $75,000 for a total of $100,000 to the city of Las Vegas. The property right across the street from their parents' house on the corner of Lee and 7th Street. And I think I personally have been a little bit distressed that we have taken so long to take action on this. And so I would like to make a motion that we accept their very generous offer and that we invite them to meet with the city manager and anyone else that wants to meet with them to discuss what they would like done with the property. I believe that you had spoken to them, Mr. Mayor, and they had suggested a memorial park for their parents, but the mayor suggested a dog park, and they loved that idea also because their parents were animal lovers and they had dogs all their lives. And so we have different options that they are, and so I would like to again make the motion that we accept the property from John Netherland and his siblings.
There's a motion, Mr. Romero.
I'll second it, and with any discussion, I'll second it. But I just had, just a little clarity before with the votes taken. So there is the openness from the Netherlands that it doesn't have to be specific to what the letter was.
Right.
Okay. Ready for that.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Casey, second by Mr. Romero.
Counselor Olivari?
Mr. Aaron?
One question. Yeah, it would probably be helpful to them, it's up to the council, as part of this motion, if you guys want to direct or instruct me to draft a deed, that way they don't have to pay a title company or any of that stuff. I can draft a deed, get the legal description, help facilitate the signing of that and recording of that so that it's not any more burden to them.
That would be
happy to do that.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes.
Now, would they use that as a tax write-off on this donation?
I don't know what their intent is to do with that. I don't know.
Thank you.
Make a good location for a substation.
Yeah.
Police substation.
So I second that.
Okay. There's a second by Mr. Romero.
Are we amending or adding that into just the way it was stated?
Yeah.
Thank you. Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And that concludes our business items, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Adjournment?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn by Ms. Casey,
Second, Mr. Mayor.
second by Mr.
Mr. Mayor,
Olivari.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think there was some additional executive, right, Mr. Attorney?
So who wants to make a motion to go into
They've
executive
got to
session?
remove the
So,
Yeah,
motion.
I rescind my motion.
Okay. Do you also? Both motions were rescinded.
Okay.
I need a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to go into executive session for pending or threatened litigation, NMSA 1978-10-15-1.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero,
Second.
second by Ms. Casey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are in executive session.